Hello, Tosin.
Sorry, I muted my mic. The latest one was 6.1.
Okay,
And I think you said we should download 6 point. That's why I downloaded. If not, I would have gone for maybe older versions. But I heard you say we should download 6 points yesterday.
so you've completed the download of the 6.1.
Yes, yes. I've even run it, but it keeps hanging my system here.
Come, let me see the size of.
So we are around what's that? 16, 15, 16 gig. That's what it was saying.
So there's not much difference in size because
Depends.
my
Okay.
2023 is 16 and this one is 18.
18. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'll work on increasing my RAM and see.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
thanks. But at least in the course of the week, I have another system in class that I can work with
Okay.
on Mondays to Friday. A system that can run.
Hi, Genevieve. Do you have Unity installed yet?
Hi, good afternoon, sir. No,
Yeah.
I've not installed it.
Okay, no problem.
Yes,
We'll
sir.
go out to do the installation today. Who
Okay.
else is there? Okay, hi, Dominic and Oliad. Please confirm I'm pronouncing it right. Oliad, did I pronounce that right?
Yeah, yes, I have Unity installed, Unity 6 version.
You have Unity installed.
Yes,
Okay. What about Dominic?
Yeah, it's my first time joining, so I will have to do that today.
Okay, no problem. Okay, so two people have Unity installed. Sorry, Oliad, what's your system specification? Is your Unity working fine?
yeah, I have used Unity for many years, so I am little familiar with it.
I'm sorry, I can barely hear you.
Okay, okay. The network is pretty bad. Sorry for that. Okay, come again. What do you say?
I still can't hear you properly. Can you send a message in the chat? I'm just asking what your system specification is.
Okay.
Okay, for Dominic, do you have your system over there with you so I can show you the process of installing Unity?
Yeah, I will log in on my laptop. Currently on my phone now.
All right. Please tell me when you've logged in on your laptop so I can start the show
Okay,
you process of installing Unity.
okay.
So for today's class, we're going to Only at I mute your mic. Yeah, so for today's class, we're meant to start the codeless game, but we'll see how far we can go. So, because I want everyone to have Unity installed, so we don't have to go back. So, installing Unity, or at least sharing the process, should not take a lot of time. So, we can start the actual coding process. So, let me just confirm that Genevieve and Dominic are ready, so I can show them how to install Unity on their device. But while we wait, Olia, you were not in the class yesterday. So in yesterday's class, we basically talked about game development and Unity, the opportunities you can find in this field, whether in Nigeria or outside Nigeria, the pros and cons, what it's like to be a game developer, what else did we talk about, and different games that have been made with Unity, and why you should go with Unity rather than other game engines like Unreal Engine, Godot, Game Maker, etc. So I don't know if I should go over that again. But personally, what do you hope to achieve from this class? And do you have any questions? Is there anything you particularly have in mind to gain from this game development class? Whether you're looking at being an actual game developer or you are more into augmented virtual reality stuff, which path do you plan on following? Oliver, Oliad, and Dominic, you can answer as well.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I just switched now to my laptop. So I might you were asking a question, so I didn't get it in full.
Okay, so I was saying that in yesterday's class, we basically talked about introduction to game development, what it is used for, pros and cons, why you should learn it, why you should choose Unity as your preferred game engine rather than the others. What does the industry have for you, right? Like how to succeed in this country and outside the country, things like that. So I'm just asking you, same way I asked everyone yesterday, what was their preferred path or what did they hope to achieve in this class? Is your goal to be a game developer at the end of this class, or you're looking towards augmented virtual reality, or what's the plan? And if you have any
Yeah.
question for me too, I'm open to answer.
Yes, I think I'm very much interested in game development. Because I don't know about Unity's full functionality, but in the past I've been experienced with Python programming. So I don't know if that would be like an age for me to work perfectly with Unity. So I'll be very much interested with that.
Okay. So as long as you've coded before, as I said, you've done Python before, think it's still the same, not the same syntax, but uh, all programming language use the same OOP system. So you'll be able to easily understand and adapt. So that's fine. And for Oliad, I think you said XR development. So as I told, was it Tosin yesterday? In this class, we will not necessarily cover XR development, but we'll definitely talk about it. And because as I mentioned, in Unity, the only difference between deploying to AR, VR, or XR is that you make changes to one, the camera. So one, you choose which platform you want to deploy to, whether it's Android, web, mobile, iOS, and other stuff. So majorly the difference between I'm not going to do a different set of coding for augmented reality or virtual reality. The only difference is if I'm going to use a normal camera here in my game development, if I'm going to do it for augmented reality, I'm going to use an XR camera. That's one. And obviously, I'll have to build as Android. And the third step is I'll have to check this XR plugin management here and install XR plugin management. So basically, Unity makes it easier or makes it easy for people to switch platforms. Although it's not advisable to switch after, like if I've created a full game now to switch that game to Excel, it's not advisable. But at the beginning of the project, it is very easy to switch between different platforms. Or at the very least, as I said, whatever you learn here, you apply the same thing in the XR development class or virtual reality class or whatever. It's all the same syntax. Only difference is you have to change camera. For XR, you have to enable the XR plugin manager and you have to export as an Android APK. Those are the only difference. So whatever you learn here is still applicable to your XR class. So this class is strictly for basics. And once you get that basics, then we hope that you continue on your own and perfect those basics. So Dominic said he's ready. Genevieve, are you also ready so I can start showing you how to install Unity?
Yeah, yes, I'm ready.
Okay. So the first thing we are going to do is search for Unity Hub. So Dominic and Genevieve, please search for the Unity Hub on your browser. And you click the first link that you see. It should be unity.com/download. Where to take you to a page where you download the Unity Hub. So I'll click on that link. And as you can see, I'm using a Windows, so obviously it's going to show me the download for Windows option. I'm guessing you're both using Windows too. So if you see this option, basically just click on it. A pop-up should appear and save. So you can save directly to your system or save it wherever you want it to be saved. So once your Unity Hub has downloaded, please let me know so I can show you the next step. Okay, so for those in the class yesterday, I mentioned something about AI for game development. Okay, hi Dominic.
Yeah, I haven't seen any pop-up showing downloading.
Okay, but if you come over to which browser are you using?
I'm using Chrome.
In your download page, can you see anything downloading? If you go to downloads, do you see anything downloading?
No.
Okay.
Nothing is
But
downloading.
but you clicked on download for Windows.
Yes, I'm actually using Mac, so it automatically downloads for Mac.
Okay. So if nothing is downloading yet, then maybe it's probably still loading.
Okay.
But you
Oh, I
can
can
refresh.
refresh. I can refresh, right?
Yes, you can refresh and click on the download button again.
Okay.
All right, so you can still keep me updated. Genevieve, is yours downloading already?
No, it's telling me thanks for downloading, and yet I can't see it. So I'm trying to see if I have it already. But there was one time I downloaded it. I don't think it's still there.
Okay, just keep me updated.
Mine has downloaded. Mine has downloaded. So I think Genevieve, you should do same. So just refresh and click on download again.
Okay, let me try again. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Jennifer, please let me know once it has downloaded. So as I was saying, yesterday's class, I mentioned something about AI concerning game development. In hopes that I think I said as a beginner, you should not focus on using AI for game development. So at least for the next 2 to 3 months of your learning curve, please don't ask ChatGPT and Grok anything or whichever AI you specialize in because it's not going to help you at all. You need to know the basics. That's how you learn properly. You need to, yes, it's being recorded, Dominic. So you need to familiarize yourself with the basics. Then from there is when you can now keep going. I think I gave different analogies yesterday of whether you want to learn football or basketball. If you want to learn football, you're not just going to start scoring a panenka or trying to do a rainbow flick. If you want to start cooking, you're not going to make fried rice at the beginning or something. You start from the basics like, oh, boiling water, putting fire on gas, etc. It's when you are very good at those basics that you yourself will now start saying, oh, I've been kicking this ball for a month. Why don't I try raising the ball up? Oh, let me use my knowledge of kicking to raising. Oh, I've been raising the ball for a while now. Why don't I try scoring free kicks? Why don't I try this? Why don't I try that? And that's how learning works. And that's why when people watch YouTube tutorials, they fail. Because as they're watching the tutorial, you're just watching what the person is doing while not learning the basics on your own. So when you watch the tutorial and you watch tutorial about how to make fried rice, then you want to go and make fried rice on your own without tutorial, you find out that oh you still cannot make the thing without the tutorial. Simply because you've not learned the basics. So whatever tutorial you want to be watching at this point, it should solely be for the basics. Basics like how to move around the Unity, what to click, objects to click in Unity, stuff like that. How to create codeless games, basic things in Unity, how to debug log. In short, at the beginning, we just want to learn the simplest of things that should be learned in Unity. So once we are completely good with those basics, then on your own, you won't even need me at that point again. On your own, you just go over the internet because you already have knowledge of the basics and say, oh, I've been doing Unity for a month or two now. I know all the basics. Why don't I try importing this environment that you can see on my screen here? Oh, I've been moving a ball around. Instead of me moving a ball, why don't I use my knowledge of moving a ball to move an animal or a player character around? Things like that. That's how you improve. So that's why I don't advise people to just go and watch YouTube tutorial as a beginner. That's why it's best to go to all these institutes like NIT or Aptech or wherever they teach people. Because you learn the basics, then once you learn the basics, you yourself can now go on without the help of anyone and start watching different tutorials that you want to upgrade. So my point back to AI is we're talking about AI, and as we all know, AI is here taking everyone's job and stuff like that. In fact, I just heard yesterday that the new Unity 6.1 or 6.2 now has Unity AI inside it. So basically, Unity has created their own AI on their platform. So as a Unity developer, now you don't even have to even use ChatGPT and Grok because their AI would definitely not be better than Unity's own AI for game development. So it keeps becoming worse and worse. Although, from what I saw from the AI, the only people in trouble are the 3D guys. I'm sorry for any 3D guy here. because basically what the AI can help you do currently now is it can help you generate textures. So if I want to generate any texture, I can use the AI to generate the textures. It can help you generate sprite images. They are working on making it generate some 3D content as well to be able to generate environments too. What else? And since it's directly inside Unity, it will automatically help you solve any issues you have inside your Unity program. So if even as a beginner, if you come across an issue, all you just have to do is drag that issue into the Unity AI, and the AI will find the best way to solve that issue for you. And since it is Unity's own AI, it will solve that issue better than ChatGPT or Grok. In fact, as I was watching that video yesterday, I was just pitying my 3D artist in the office because once they release this thing, I may not even need him again to some extent. And that's the reality of things. It's funny now, but it's not fun. Just like, let me see if I can still find the video. My own job is still safe, but his own job is already shaking on my own side. I just have not told him yet. Because if I can do the 3D part and on my own without needing the 3D guy, then there will be a problem. Let me see if there's a list of everything he does here, so I don't have to play the whole video. Okay, so these are the current features. Says as an assistant, it will help you to answer questions about your project, generate code, and can execute agentic actions like remaining files or placing multiple objects in a scene. One. Then you can use it to generate sprites, textures. You can use it to generate animations. You can use it to generate sound. My 3D guy is finished. I'm sorry. Then inference engine. We don't need this one for now. Let's leave this one. But basically, you can also use it for AI. So it is now easier to adopt AI and machine learning into your Unity projects because of the new Unity AI. Let me find a point in the video where the guy used it to generate animation. I think that was the worst one for me because I can generate animation. It's over. So this is him generating textures and swords. And this is the texture generated and he added it to the floor. So at this point, if you want to learn 3D, just have it at the back of your mind that things are not funny anymore. So these are the list of things you can currently generate: animation, material, sound, sprite, texture. And now it's still okay, but once they add 3D model, hmm, although there are sites where you can generate 3D models already, but once it becomes official, your job is by the grace of God at that point. So you just with a prompt, with a prompt is generating a coin dropping sound. So please let me know if you can hear the audio from the YouTube video.
No, we can't. I can't hear the audio.
But could you hear before, or is it now that you could not hear? You cannot hear it?
I've not been
I
hearing
think I
since.
think the audio from the video is mute.
Can you hear you now? I've paused the video now. Could you hear it before?
No, no.
Okay, let me try and share my screen again. Maybe it's the way I shared it. Okay, please confirm if you can hear the
This
audio.
version also added something. So over here on the top right corner on the
Yes, we can
inspector,
hear
we
it
can
now.
see an.
Okay. So as I said,
Let's go with something like coins dropping. Let's say I
he's
want
trying to generate an audio for coins dropping.
the sound of like dropping coins to simulate some kind of checkout sound and so on. Coins dropping on the floor. And for the duration, it's meant to be pretty small. So let's say like just 2 seconds, something like that. Let's say 4 sounds and generate. This one also takes in a sound reference. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure what that is. And apparently you can either start recording things as well. So I would assume that's kind of like texture where you can basically record some sound yourself. And basically it's going to use that sound in order to guide generation. That could be funny if you can make some, if you're the kind of person who can make some interesting noise with your mouth, then yeah, I guess you could use that in order to guide generation and get something much better. But let's see what this one generated. Yep, that's a coin falling on the floor. Nice. All right, that as well. All right. Okay, so yep, so I think this last one sounds pretty nice. And then this version also added something. So over here on the top right corner on the inspector, we can see an edit button. And this one spawns this window. So let's say I want to cut the very beginning. So I'm just going to.
Okay. Let me move to the next one. The one that is that's the best feature in my own opinion.
Let's do a dodge roll. So over here, let's say
He's trying to generate an animation just through text for his game.
generate a forward dodge roll. Let's go ahead and generate. And okay, after about a few seconds, there it is. And yep, that does sound like a forward dodge roll. So if we look over there on the preview, yep, goes ahead, goes forward, and there you go. Nice. That does seem like a dodge roll. So again, if you're making a prototype of some kind of Souls-like game, just go ahead, use this, and boom, there you go. You've got a nice dodge roll.
That dodge roll is so clean. There's no single issue with that dodge roll. So these things are getting better and better. So I think the best way to do things is when you're learning, just keep things like this in mind and move with them. So because you've been doing something for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, doesn't mean that when AI comes and is about to take your job, you know, say, no, I'm not learning any other thing, I'm not going to change. In my own opinion, you don't have choice. You just have to keep moving on with the times. So yeah, let's go back to our Unity installation. Genevieve, have you installed Unity Hub?
Yes, I'm done. I'm done. I'm done downloading it.
Okay. Okay, but basically, since you are done, I want both of you to tap on the APK and just install it. I don't have Unity Hub right now, but that's all you need to just tap on the APK, click on continue, accept all the agreements and stuff. So the class for today, hopefully we still have time, but we're meant to create a codeless game. I feel like that's the best way for us to start. So a game that requires basically no code. All we'll be affecting in this game is physics and constant force. That's all. So no, it's not every game you have to write 100 lines of code or whatever. Although maybe you will not find a lot of people playing this game, but actually that's the best way for us to start. Let me run it so you see what it looks like. So there's a ball up here, and the goal is to make sure the ball gets to the end of the uh, cube environment. And the only way we can move this is by affecting the force and the physics of this ball or the environment. So to make that, as you can see, there are two buttons over here for left and right. So the left button moves the environment towards the left, and the right button will move the environment towards the right. So the ball can fall due to physics. As I said, we're not writing any code for this game. It's just everything will be done in this Unity editor over here. So if I click on the right, you can see it's tilting towards the right, and the ball will fall. Then I click on the left to bring it back. You can make yours faster if you want. Not an issue. So now the ball is falling towards, then I stop it again to fall towards the right side. So now that it's here, I have completed the game. You can see I have my screen that says you won, basically. So this is the first simple game that we'll be creating in this class. So this game requires no code at all. All we're just going to do is create a main camera, create all these small cubes and arrange them so they are together, create these two buttons, create this sphere ball, and add a rigid body and constant force to the object. And once we do that, our game should work. So Genevieve and Dominic, have you guys installed Unity?
Yes.
Yes,
Now
I've
it's
installed
asking me
it.
to sign in.
Okay, so just sign in with your Google account or whichever account. Just create an account.
Okay.
Yes.
Also, it's asking me to install an editor. Should I proceed with that?
No, don't worry. We'll install the editor together. Just have you signed in?
Oh, yes, I've signed in already.
Genevieve, please let me know once you've signed in as well. So Dominic, confirm you're in a page like this, although maybe a little bit different from Mac, but something like this basically. Hi Dominic.
I'm not seeing all the. Yeah, I'm not seeing all this, but I can share my screen.
Okay. You won't see all this because this is my own, but yeah, share your screen. Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see your screen.
Okay, this is what I'm seeing.
Okay. I said I'm already downloading 6.1. Although, so yes, so what we now do now is going to install install editor. But before you choose, what's the space of your Mac system?
It's one is I have 8 gig available. Yeah,
80.
88 gig available. So
Okay. Hmm. So that you're already installing 6.1. Is it because of the Unity AI?
I don't know. I was just waiting for your
Okay.
direction.
So, so the thing is, obviously now the Unity 6 is the new version, so that's all the one we install. But sometimes you may need to use other versions of Unity. Like I still use my 2022, although that's for project that I started um back then, so I don't want to switch the Unity 6.1.
Okay,
The recommended version, the first one.
so this is what I will install. Right?
Yes, okay. Now to choose the things that you will need an Android build support. So click on everything under Android build support. You're using an iOS, so if you want, you may want to toggle that on too as well. If you want to build to
This
iOS, yes. Then scroll down. Need it to toggle on the web build support as well. Scroll down. Add the documentation too. Usually very helpful.
okay.
So this, yeah. So we can continue. Okay, so that will
It's in
probably take a lot
progress.
of time. But yes. Hi
Yeah.
Genevieve, can you share your screen? Genevieve, are you still there?
Okay, sorry, I'm still trying to sign in. After signing in, I will share my screen. It's like I
Okay.
have an account before, so I am trying to change the password.
Did I pronounce that right? For this, are you here? Okay, maybe not here yet. But basically, if you are listening, I just want to know if you
Yeah, yeah, I can
installed
hear you.
Unity. Yeah. Do you have Unity installed? Mukodis, do you have Unity installed?
No, 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 no.
Okay, let me just continue then. I'm coming. Okay, so for the sake of those that have Unity installed, or since we can't use this entire class to install Unity, I think I'll just continue with the codeless game. Then you guys can watch it again and try and build the game off of the recording. That's fine. And please feel free to ask any questions in between the section. Okay. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see from here.
I'm checking something. I'm trying to. Okay. Okay, so to get started, let me create a new project for this class. So for those that have it installed, you open your Unity hub and you click on new project. So as I mentioned in the last class, we have a lot of Unity templates to start with, depending on what you're looking for. So Unity makes it easy for anyone to get started with development. That is 2D, 3D, VR, 3D mobile, uh, mixed reality, even augmented reality mobile, multiplayer, even gives you templates. So these are an FPS micro game. So if I download this now, to give me an already made FPS game, what else? And so on and so forth. So there are a lot of templates for a beginner to start with, in short. And if you don't want to start with any of the templates, just click on the normal universal 3D or 3D mobile to get started. So I'll start with this. I have to name my project. Let me name it Codeless. Save it somewhere. Add it to an organization. Yeah, so it's not important. Sure. So it's for if you are working for someone, but let's leave this one. So name my project and that's all. So I'll click on create project. And now we'll wait for it to load. Okay. Unity takes a bit of time to load because of all the packages it has to install to get your game running. No panic. I think it's just about 5 minutes max. Hopefully. What else can we talk about while this thing is loading? So we mentioned Unity AI. Also, help you guys play games. As funny as that may sound, you actually need to play games so you know how games work, if that makes sense. Like it helps also. So when you play other people's games, you see how they use or what they use, and it's help you to use those same techniques or mechanics in your own game. Same way, I'm sure people that shoot films watch other people's film to see what type of shots did they use, how did they achieve this and that. Same way, you have to play other people's game. I'm not saying you should play game for your life or like this now. When GTA 6 comes out, I'm 100% sure I'm going to be downloading the game, but obviously for good reasons. So when you play games or you watch how people make their own games or something, there's always something to learn from it. I think I was checking about GTA 6 and there was something about how they did their physics simulations in their bottles. So basically how they made the drink look like there's an actual drink inside, which obviously they would not have done that normally because it would make the game heavier. But they found a cheat code way to do it. So things like this is why you have to like watch other people's games or play other people's games so you can learn from that. That's like the other liquid, but they didn't actually do any liquid simulation in Blender or anything. It's just a plain image. So basically, these are reasons why you have to watch gameplays and other people's games and see, oh, how did they achieve this thing so I can achieve the same thing when I'm creating my own game. If I'm going to create a game now with liquid simulation, this is exactly what I'm going to do. Just find a plane, add a shader to make it look like there's an actual drink inside. Instead of doing a whole complicated form of liquid simulation that will make the build size too big and stuff like that. So now my project has opened. So once you open a new project, this is how it looks like. So once you open a new project, this is how it looks like. You have all these different panels and we'll go through them one by one. So first on my left hand side, as I mentioned yesterday, we have the hierarchy. And the hierarchy is where, sorry about that. And the hierarchy is where you see all the game objects that are currently present in your scene. So to make it easier, this screen that you're seeing here in the middle is your scene. So your scene is just a 3D world space. Like looking up and you're seeing the sky and everywhere is just empty land until you start placing things in that empty land so you can get started. So it's just a very, very vast empty land of nothingness for now and a random skybox. So this is our scene. Then to know the things in our scene, we are going to check them in the hierarchy tab over here. This tab called hierarchy. So you can see currently my sample scene, I have a main camera, I have a directional light, and I have a global volume. Let's leave the global volume for now. But the main camera is for me to see things. So it's the main camera that is showing this. It's basically the camera. Just like when you're playing, when you want to shoot a video, you need a camera. In Blender as well, you also need a camera. So in game development, you also need a camera to showcase what you are doing. So if I turn off this main camera now, as you can see, it says display no cameras rendering. So you cannot create or run a game without a camera. Possible. So I turn on the main camera back. Then directional light. This directional light is basically like sunlight. Same as Blender. If there's no light in your scene, everywhere will be dark. So you need to add some form of lighting into your scene. So if I turn this off, you can see the lighting has changed. It's only getting light source now from this skybox. So that's why you need things like directional light. And to add things to your hierarchy, as you can see here, you just basically right click in your hierarchy. Once you right click, you scroll down. You can create an empty game object. You can create a 2D game object, a 3D game object. So you can see for the 3D game object, I can create a cube, sphere, collide, capsule, cylinder, plane, chord, and so on. You can create effects, particle effects. Well, let's leave that for now. You can add lights, the directional light that we spoke about, point lights, spotlights, area lights. You can add audio, video. You can add UI. So you can have some text and buttons, and we'll add that one too. Let's leave the rest for now. And there's a button for camera too, so you can add the camera. But once you create your scene, naturally, it comes with a camera, a directional light, and a global volume. But for now, we'll just focus on the camera and the directional light. So that's for the hierarchy. The hierarchy is where you see all the game objects present in your scene. In the middle here is your scene. And on the right-hand side here, where it says inspector, is where you make changes to the game objects in your scene, or basically the game objects in your projects. Let me scroll this down. So it's not showing anything now until I click on one of the game objects in the scene. So if I click on my main camera, it will show me all the components that are in my main camera that I can make changes to. So the first one being transform. What transform basically does is allows you to move, rotate, and increase the size of your game objects. So I'm able to move left and right, up and down, forward and backward. So that's what the position is for, to move left, right. X is to move left and right. Y is to move up and down. And Z is to move forward and backward. That's for position. Then same thing for rotation. X is to rotate towards the x-axis. So as you can see, my camera now rotates towards the x-axis. Or let me use a game object to make this simpler. Let me create a 3D game object. Let's say, let me create a plane. Then that should be easier to. So you see, I've created a plane now in my hierarchy, and it shows in my scene. So I've created this plane. And on my right-hand side here, my inspector, I have to minimize this so I can see. If you have any questions, just let me know. Move this to the right-hand side here. So I've created a plane in my scene. And if you check my inspector tab here, these are the changes I can currently make to that plane in my scene. So I can change the position by moving it left and right. If I face this direction, then I can move it forward, up and down, then forward and backward. So as you can see, there's an arrow on top of my plane. So this red arrow shows towards the x-axis. As you can see over here, red means X, Z means blue, and Y means green. So this towards the x-axis, this towards the z-axis, and this towards the y-axis. So position, therefore rotation, you can rotate towards the x-axis. So this means rotating towards the x-axis like this. Then you can rotate towards the y-axis. Then you can rotate towards the z-axis. So anyhow you want to rotate your object or move your object, you do that in the transform. Let me move back to the original. Then for the third one, which is the scale, we can scale in those different axes too. So I can scale towards the x-axis to make it longer or shorter. I can scale towards the y-axis, although you won't see a difference for this one because this is a plane. So as a plane usually is in 2D, so you won't see a difference in scaling in the y-axis. But if I added a cube, let me add a cube for this purpose. Cube. So as you can see, I can scale towards the x-axis to make the cube longer, scale towards the y-axis to make it longer towards the y-axis, and I can scale it towards the z-axis to make it longer towards the z-axis. And if you want everything to scale up at the same size, let's say you want it to just increase overall, you turn on this button over here, this enable constraint proportions. So once you turn it on, whatever changes I make in the x-axis will affect in the y and z-axis as well. So the cube will just become bigger overall. So just see. So the cube just becomes bigger overall instead of in one particular axis. So let's delete that and go back to our plane. Okay, so that's for the transform. Then for the second one, which is the plane mesh filter and the mesh renderer, you don't need to touch those ones. Those ones are just ways for Unity to make sure the plane is showing in the scene. So it's basically just saying, no, this is a plane mesh connected to this game object. But basically, you don't need to make any changes to those two. Then for the third one, which is mesh collider. So for the mesh collider, or for any type of collider, what they basically do is make it possible for other game objects to interact with your game object. So what I mean is, if there's no collider in your game object, the objects will basically just pass through. Let me give an. So the way I have a plane now that looks like a floor, if I had a ball on top of this plane and I place it on it and I play the game, the ball will just fall through the plane and it will not stay on top of the plane if the plane does not have a collider. So it's a collider that will stop the ball from falling through the plane and stay on top of that plane. Let's see if we can make that happen right now. To the objects. Sphere. I will have to add a rigid body. Let me see. Okay. So first for this sphere, let me add a okay. So you can see my ball on top of my plane. And as I said, the only reason why it's not falling over is because both the plane and the ball have a collider. For the ball, it has a sphere collider, and for the plane, it has a mesh collider. If I should remove the collider, the ball will fall through the plane, and that's not what we want. But just to give an example, I've removed the collider, you can see the ball slip through the plane and fall away from the environment. So that's why you need colliders in your game objects to make sure that another object does not pass through it. Even when you are creating a fighting game, so like maybe you're creating a shooting game or a sword fighting game, for you to be able to know that your character has attacked another character, maybe the sword has touched the enemy or the bullet has touched the enemy has to have a collider so that it can detect that touch, then to let you know that, oh, the touch has been made, remove so amount of point or whatever. So that's why colliders are needed. Okay, so what next? What next? So we've talked on hierarchy, scene, inspector. So the game is just basically where you play your game, where you have a preview of your game while you're creating it. That's basically what the game is about. Then down here, we have the project tab, console tab. Let's forget this. This Unity version control tab is basically like GitHub for Unity. It's for team collaboration. So when I make changes in the project, I can push through my Unity version control and my teammate can access it on his own Unity and make his own changes. So it's a way to collaborate. So what different people can have access to the project at the same time. So while I'm coding the game, it does not stop the person doing the UI from doing the UI. It does not stop the person doing the 3D from doing the 3D on their own laptop. And once we're all done, we'll now combine our work together to create our full game instead of having to wait for one person to finish working. That's basically what the Unity version control is for. But for the ones we need in this class is one, project and console. So for the project is where you see all the files that are available in your project. So what I mean by that is every single file you are going to import into your project is going to be in your assets folder over here. So currently things in my assets folder are things that are Unity added by itself, not the ones I created. But for the ones you create or for the ones that you import, you will find them in your assets folder in project. So let's say I want to add, maybe I downloaded a character from Sketchfab for an instance. So I go to Sketchfab and I downloaded this. Let me see if I can find the 3D object in my folder. So let me see what this thing's about. I don't. This thing is taking time. Okay. So this is scene I have in my blender. Um, just to import something into the what's it called asset folder. So for those that have done Blender, I'll just export. Also, the file format that you export to for Unity is FBX. So for GLB, for you to add a GLB file to Unity, you have to download some form of extension and packages for it to allow. But the default file format accepted by Unity is this .fbx at the end over here. So you just go to your Blender, or when you are downloading from Sketchfab, let's say I want to download this from Sketchfab now. However you want to download from, just once you click on download, it will ask you which file format, or to show you the available file format. And for Unity, always download the .fbx. If the 3D object does not have a .fbx format available, you can download the GLB, open it in Blender, then export it yourself as .fbx. That will also work as well. So these are the reasons I say you need a 3D knowledge to get started with Unity. But for me, since I already have my environment, I will come here, file, export as .fbx. So all you just need to check is this auto, change it to copy, and check this. Then you export it. And once it's done, we'll drag it into our Unity project. So this is it here. Close my Blender. So over here now, I'm in my assets folder. And all I will do is just drag this into it. So you can see it here, 2v1. So basically, this is how you add. These are your add environments to your Unity project. Although, as you can see, it does not come with the textures. So the textures are some like you have to bake in the textures, or if you did not, you have to manually add the textures. But let me just. This is not for this class, just to show how to add material and textures, basically. But yeah, I did not bake in the texture, so I'll have to manually add the textures myself. But you get the point. This is how to import FBX to Unity. So, and you add it to your asset folder. And if you want to see it in your environment, you drag and drop it into your scene. It was created by my 3D guy, by the way. Let me delete this because it's not part of our class. I've imported a whole lot of lighting into the scene. Let me delete all this lighting. Yeah, so we're back. So we've talked on the hierarchy, the scene, inspector, project. Last one is console. So console, as you can see over here, the console is basically where you see issues, errors, and information about your game while it's currently running or while you're importing or changing code and scripts. So you see it's telling me, oh, the FBX I imported has errors, the light has no normal. So basically just give you information about your game. And if your game is not going to run, you'll see the issue in the console over here. So it has 3 stages. One is just for information. Second one is a warning. Therefore, the third one, that means you now have an error that you need to fix. And most of the time, if you have an error, your game will not run until you fix the error. So these ones are not big errors yet. In fact, I've even deleted the entire thing, so it should work. But normally, if you have a major error, your game will not run until you fix the error. Okay. So now that we're here and I've explained those different tabs in Unity, I think we can get started now. So let me pause a minute for us to take everything in. If anyone has any question, now will be a good time before I continue. Are there any questions? Any questions, observations, anything at all?
None from here.
Okay. But let me still wait for a minute because I've been talking too much. So let's just wait for me to digest everything we've said. Okay. So let's work on our game now. So to start our codeless game, as you can see in the project, the first thing we need to do is create this box environment here that looks like a maze. So that's very simple. All we just need to do is create what's it called? Different cubes and size them into this particular size over here. So the first thing I'm going to do to start is create a new game object called cube. So this is my game object. So name this. Let me name this floor. So this is my game object over here, and this will be the down one here. So this is the one I have to create first. This ground game object over here. So let me name it ground there instead. Ground. As you can see, what we want to do is scale it to the exact size that we want. So now I'll make changes to the scale. Oh, also, if you're wondering how I'm moving around freely, I can zoom in, out, checking from different views. Basically, all you have to do is hold on to your right click and use WASD to move. So Unity allows you to move like you're moving in the game. Just hold down your right click and move with WASD to move around objects. So you can, and then you look up and down depending on where you want to go. So if I want to go down, I look down, click on W to go forward, D to go right, L to go left, S to go back. So I'm going back, then W forward. I can look up to go up, down to go down, like that and like that. And also, let's say if your game object is far away, and you cannot find your game object any longer, just click on the game object over here in the hierarchy, come back to your scene, and click on F. Once you click on F, it will automatically take you to exactly where your game object is. So let me click on F now, and you see it takes me straight to my ground game object immediately. So those two are very useful for quick move around in Unity. So let me look at our current project and see what skill I used here. So as you can see here, I used a scale of 15, x15, y1, and z1. Okay. This is low. It's some. Okay, so we've created our ground game object. So now based on that, we'll now create all these side ones too, like this one and this one. And to do that, we can either create another cube, or to make it easier, we can just duplicate this cube and rename it. So to duplicate the cube, you can just click on the ground cube here, then Ctrl Z, Ctrl C, and Ctrl V to create a new game object. So I'll name this left cube. And you can see if I move it here now, I have two cubes, and I've moved my left cube out. I want my left cube to be on the left, so I'll just rotate it towards the left axis or Z axis. So I'll rotate it 90 degrees. Now come up here, move it to the left. -7. As you can see, I have my left cube over here. And the next point is to create the right cube. And all I have to do is the same. Click on left, duplicate it, rename it. To rename, you can click on F2 in your screen, or just double tap once, tap twice, or you click on F2 in your screen and to allow you to rename. Right cube. And I just move my right cube to the other side. Then for the top, I'll duplicate this and move it up here. So I'll rename this top. So now we've created our first full cube with different sides, left, right, top, and bottom. So our next step now is to create these obstacles in the scene. So we have how many? We have 4 obstacles in the scene. Okay. So same as we did here, I can also still duplicate this, move it upward, and basically scale it down. Scale the x-axis down to have my first obstacle. So let me see what I used in the previous. I scaled it down to 10. So this is also 10. Okay. So I scaled it down to 10. This is over here. I can duplicate this bring it down, connect here, and that's what I did here. Yes. Then duplicate again, bring it down, connect here, duplicate again, bring it down, connect here. Bring this up a bit. Okay. So I need to let me rename them. So this OBS 1, OBST 2, OBST 3, OBST 4. So now we've created all our obstacles. We've created our environments. Now we need to create our ball. So for the ball, I'll also right click, 3D object, and I can see I can choose a sphere. That's the best option here. But the sphere looks more like a ball than the rest. Click on the sphere, and my sphere has been added to the scene. Let me just drag the sphere up here. So as you can see, it's currently far away. So we need to make sure is where the rest of our game object is. But it's always better to start from 0, 0, so you know where you are. So I move this up. I now have my sphere in my scene. Let me position the camera properly. Okay. So you can see properly through the camera now. So we've added the ball, we've added the obstacles, the ground, the top, and the left side. So what we need to do now is make sure that it works through physics and add a button so you can move it around with the button. But before then, to easily make changes or to affect all of them, we need to group them together. So what grouping means is adding all of them into another game object, basically. So I can make changes to that game object. So it looks like putting things under a parent, like putting a child object under a parent object. So whatever changes happens to the parent, to happen to the child as well. So for an example, what I mean is right now, if I move this, I can only move this, I cannot move it all together. The only way for me to move it all together is if I click on all 4 of them, then move it together. But what if I create a parent? So if I move that parent, it moves all of them all together. So let's click on all our, except from the sphere, the ball. So once I right click over here, I scroll down, I can see an option, create empty parent. So I click on the option, then I can name it parent. So once I click on the parent and I move the parent, I'm able to move everything all together through the parent. Then I'll add the parent under another parent again. So you move the parent, you're able to move all the game objects under the parent. You can still move the game objects separately, but to move them all together, you use the parent to move them all together. So an example where game use this is give an example. So let's say you want to make a car move now. For people that animate cars in Blender or whether in Unity, you don't want to move the tire, one tire separate, another tire separate, the chair separate, the bonnet separate, and all that stuff. So what they do is they group all the parts of the car inside one parent, then they move that parent and maybe just animate the tires to make it look like the car is moving. So that's basically the 419 that goes on. So what I mean is, let's say these are different parts of a car. All I just have to do is move the parent to make it look like the car is moving. Then let's say this is a tire, and I just move this tire to separate so that when the parent is moving, the tire to also make some moves to make it. So it's only the tire that they will now animate separately. But to make the car move, they just move the entire object altogether. Which other trying to see which other game object people usually use it for. So all this card that I seeing here, what the person basically did is add everything in under one parent, made the parent move, then this one they make it move. Nobody wants to make a move here. But basically the point is add all the parts of the car inside one parent, whether it's the door, the bonnet, the glass. And once you do that, you move all of them through the parents. I hope that is easy to understand. But basically the parent allows you to move everything under it together. Did someone say something? So someone is muted. Do you want to say something? I'll be unmuted. Tosin, you're unmuted. Do you want to say something?
No, I just wanted to make a thumbs up that I got the explanation.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So now that we've parented all that, it's time to add physics to our game object. So if I play this game now, nothing will happen. The ball is not going to fall, neither will the cubes move. As you can see, the ball is just standing there in the middle. So to make the ball fall, I need to add a rigid body to the ball. So you see, once I added a rigid body now, the ball falls. If I disable this game object, the ball will fall again to the next game object for one. So that's part of a rigid body. Once you add a rigid body to an object, it will start displaying physics properties. So as you can see, once you add a rigid body, you ask for the mass of the object, the angular drag, the should they use gravity or not. If I should turn on gravity, the ball will no longer fall. So as you can see, since I've turned off gravity, it's now staying in the air. If I turn it back on, the ball will fall. So that's why we need rigid body. But first, let me rename this sphere to player because our cube is our player. So okay. So the first thing we want to do is add a rigid body to our player. So all you have to do is click on add components, then type rigid body. You can just type the first 2 or 3 words. You need to auto-complete it and find what you are looking for. So as soon as I typed RI, it brought up rigid body. So this is a 3D project. So I'm not going to add rigid body 2D. All we need is rigid body 3D. So I'll click on rigid body 3D. If you want to increase your mass, that's fine. If you don't want to, that's fine as well. As soon as you've added the rigid body, it will now follow the laws of physics, as long as you don't turn off use gravity. This is kinematic, is for, so it's to control whether physics will affect the rigid body or not. So if I turn it on, physics will no longer affect the rigid body, which is not what we want. So as you can see, because I've turned on is kinematic. It's as good as turning on gravity. So once I turn it off, the ball falls back, which is what we want. Rigid body to the ball. We can leave that for now and move on to the next step. The next step is let's create our UI buttons. So to create a button, the first thing you need to do is create a canvas. So once you right click, go to UI, and you can see canvas over here. So for you can add text, image, button, input system, you need to have a canvas. So once I create my canvas, I can rename it if I want, but let me just leave it the way it is. So if inside that canvas, you can now place information. So this square line that you can see is the canvas. Here you can see the square line around. This is the canvas. So inside that square line, I can now right click and say create UI button. You can import all these just for more fonts and stuff. So once I create UI button, you can now see the button in my environment. If I go to game, you can see the button in the middle over here. But obviously, we don't want it to be in the middle, we want it to be at the side of the game. So let me move this to a position. Also, we want the button to be bigger. So you can increase the scale or use width and height, whichever one you want. Using scale. Then move it to the left or right axis. When I want to move this to the left. Then bring it down a little bit again. Then also let's name this left button. Left button. Then we can duplicate it and name the duplicate right button. Then basically move the right button towards the right. Then to rename the button, we'll open up the button tab. You can see a text underneath both of them. Click on the text and rename button to left. Rename the text over here to right. And just save. So we now have a left button, right button. So depending on you, you can make changes to buttons in the inspector. As you can see, you can change color of your button if you want. You can choose whichever color and change it to that color, or leave it at the default. You can choose how the button works. So once the button is highlighted, what color do you want it to change to? Once they press the button, what color do you want? Once the button is selected, what color? So let me give an example. So I'm starting my game now. And if I click on the button, you can see that it changes color but not significantly. So if I come here and choose highlighted, the color should be yellow once I highlight on the button. So if I put my cursor on the button now to turn yellow. Then once I press it, I want the color to change to green. So once I click on it to turn green, I highlight, it turns yellow, I click, it turns green. Okay. So our next step now, sorry. Our next step now is to add a rigid body and constant force to our parent object. So what I mean is for us to be able to turn, okay, let me show you the canvas once more. So you can see the left and right button in the canvas is not being shown like the other 3D objects. You can see them here in the canvas. And I can now go back to my actual game objects down here. So for me to now be able to move this left and right, I need to add a rigid body and a constant force to the two parents, the super parent and the parent of my environment. So for the super parent, I click on it, come over here, rigid body, then add another called constant force. If I play this, I guess everything should fall down, but that's not what we want. But just so it's falling, but the only thing that is holding it up is our sphere ball that is not falling. So you can see it dangling up and down. Funny enough, this is another game idea that someone can create where you try and hold the environment using the ball. So I added a rigid body to my super parent and everything falls down. Why? Because I did not turn on its kinematic. So just to show that again, so you can see the only thing holding the environment is the ball up here. If not, it will have just fallen over. So we'll turn on its kinematic to solve that so our environment doesn't fall. So you see now our environment is no longer falling down. And we add the same rigid body to our parent as well. We add a constant force and a rigid body to our parent as well. And turn that also is kinematic, so it doesn't fall. So for the constant force, we need to use our button to move the constant force, but we've got the constant force is to be able to push the environment in whichever direction that we want. So we want to be able to push in the Z direction of both of the objects. And to do that, we're adding a constant force to only the parents and super parents. And for the super parents, our relative torque will be minus 0.5. You can experiment and increase this when you're creating your own. And for us, so if our super parent is minus 0.5, let me see what I used in. Therefore, our parent over here is 0.5. Okay. Let me turn off its kinematic for my, what's it called, player. Okay. So now I want to be able to move. I want to be able to move the environment with our button. So we need to create some on-click function in our button to do that. In this class, we've exceeded our time, but let's just try and finish as soon as possible. Okay. So I go back, click on my button. And for me to be able to move in my button, what I want to do is add some on-click functions to that button. So let me see. So the on-click function I want to add is our super parent and our parents. And what we want to be able to change is the rigid body and the constant force. So for the rigid body, we want that once the left button is clicked, the rigid body is kinematic, becomes enabled. And for the parent, we want the rigid body is kinematic to be disabled. Then for the super parent constant force, we want it disabled. Then for the parent constant force, we want it enabled. So for the right button, we'll just do the exact opposite of what we've done here. So right button, go to the on-click function. Basically, what the on-click function is, what do you want to happen once a user clicks on that button? So this will only happen once a user click on our button. So here, rigid body, function, rigid body as well, schematic, constant force, enabled. So in my left button, I turned on rigid body for super parent, so I'll turn it off in the one for the right button. Let me be sure over here. Okay. Okay. So we've done the opposite of what we did in the left button. Let's see what that gives us. So it's falling through. It's working, but we need to fix something over here. Mm, let's turn this off. So please give me 1 minute and the call is coming in. Okay, sorry, I'm back. All right, let me try and see on the spherical objects. Okay. If I move left, right falls, move left. Should fall as well. All right. Okay. Is anyone still following the class? Tosin?
I didn't get what you did now.
Okay. What's time now? 4:20. Wow. Okay. So as I said, what we just did is in the super parent and parent class, we need to add a rigid body and a constant force with these parameters. Set is kinematic and gravity. The constant force should be 0.5. And for the super parent, constant force should be minus 0.05. Then all you need for your walls is basically just sorry, basically just add a collider so that our sphere or our player does not fall through those walls. Then we configure our button. For our button, we just need to set that once a user click on the button, make sure that our rigid body kinematic is turned on. Our constant force is not enabled for super parent. While for parent, our rigid body kinematic is turned off, but our constant force is enabled. Same for the opposite to be for the right button, which is for the right button, our rigid body kinematic is turned off for super parent, and our constant force is turned on. Now our rigid body kinematic is turned on for parent, and our constant force is turned off. So once you do that, everything should be fine, and our sphere should move accordingly. So do you need me to explain one more time, or does that work?
Yes, I think I'm okay. I thought you changed anything because I've been jotting it down. Right, I have gotten it. Thank
Okay.
you.
If you have any issues, you can just reach out to me on the group, so I'll know and we'll see how to solve that issue.
All right, so
Okay, so with that, this is going to be the end of today's class. We even spent way more than the time that we budgeted for. Masaichi, are you still here?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes, so we're done for today's class and we're about to close everything.